The SNES Classic, easier to buy, harder to scalp. So welcome back to Hard for Games Gaiden. It is the sideshow to Hard for Games, where I get to talk about gaming topics in a format that does not show my face. And why are we doing this? Well, because if I talked about gaming topics in a fully lit green screen set, by the time I got around to it and editing it, it would be like months later, and it wouldn't be topical anymore. So here we are, Hard for Games Gaiden. Hope you guys enjoy. So many of you may have seen our SNES Classic quest titled Failure, Anger, and Success Buying an SNES Classic -H4G. John and I basically in this video chronicled our attempts to buy an SNES Classic from the large Midwest department store chain Meijer, and we just totally failed. And we got pretty mad too, which was kind of a combination between the sleep deprivation and just overall just really being frustrated with Nintendo's policies. I would say it'd be less so in retrospect that we were having trouble finding an SNES Classic, and more so that, you know, we weren't able to get an NES Classic, getting the Switch was a pain in the butt, You get it. I mean, if you're a Nintendo fan and you're living in the US, you've probably experienced something akin to this. At the beginning of the video, we were failing, partially because the store didn't have their systems down from store to store, and partially because they each only got 14 units in. So when I say systems, I mean like their processes. So for example, you know, i.e. Where to line up, when to line up, whether or not they sold vouchers hours earlier in the day, all of it just wasn't consistent from store to store, which is important. You know, as an aside, imagine if every time you bought a McDonald's Big Mac, the toppings and condiments varied wildly from location to location, right? Making sure that it's the same Big Mac every damn time. That's systems, right? Systems are important, whether you realize that that's a result of systems or not. So I think we were partially getting so frustrated because, you know, we would go in and they'd be like, all right, you're lining up in electronics. And another place would be like, oh, we sold vouchers hours earlier, even though we told you to come at 10. That kind of thing. And I actually talked to a buddy of mine after the episode, and he works in retail, and he informed me that basically all the retailers get the SNES Classics in cases of 6. So he also went to Meijer, and just like myself and John at the 4 Meijers we went to, the Meijer he went to, they said they had 14. So, you know, if you do the math, it should be 18, right? So at each location, they received their 18, but gave 4 of them to employees, which is just great for them, I guess, but pretty crappy for everybody else. But I mean, what are you going to do? If I was working at Meijer, I'd be pretty thrilled about that, as a matter of fact. So point being is, you know, we eventually got one at Best Buy, wrapped up our video and released it. And we got a ton of comments from you guys, which was awesome. And some of you had pretty similar experiences to us, which of course obviously was very frustrating for you. But many of you didn't have the same experience. And of course, none of our overseas viewers did. Obviously, your sort of Nintendo regional representative, ours is Nintendo of America, must not do the whole scarcity as marketing tactic, which is horribly frustrating and very much like a toy tactic. If you guys remember, like the Tickle Me Elmos, which were super scarce and everyone needed them. It was the hot Christmas toy way back when, which really dates me, obviously, but if you're younger and you don't remember that, well, just look it up. I am really happy that many of you actually got the system pretty headache-free. In fact, I'd actually seen an article on Kotaku stating that the scalpers aren't able to sell the SNES Classic for as much because much more of the demand was met, right? So according to them, it's selling on eBay for an average of $80 less than the NES Classic did days after its launch. And I'll go ahead and put a link to the article in the description below so you can read it yourself. I figured I would investigate this as well. I went to eBay, did an advanced search for sold listings. Remember, you can't just go there and see what people are asking for them. You have to see what they're actually selling them for. Obviously, that's the more important number. And Kotaku was pretty much spot on. They were definitely selling for a lot less. And here's the kicker. When I search for NES Classic or Nintendo Classic, all I get is SNES Classic listings, meaning that this lower priced, albeit scalped, but lower priced SNES Classic is actually shoving down all of the remaining NES Classic scalpers. And that just warms my heart, because, you know, the NES Classic was going for a lot on eBay, too much, and now it's just being shoved down in the search results so far. I love it. Love it. Basically, the scalpers are being punished, as they should be. So overall, you know, this is really awesome, and if you can't tell, I'm pretty happy about this. It's definitely a sign that Nintendo, at least Nintendo of America, I should say, is moving in the right direction. And just to be clear, all of my issues with the retailer I was at, that's an issue with the retailer in terms of their systems. Partially, possibly, Nintendo of America not getting them enough stock, but it seemed like the other, you know, electronics and department stores were fine as far as stock went. So who knows exactly what the inner workings were. But that said, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of Hard for Games Gaiden. If there are some gaming topics that pop up, feel free to let me know in the comments below what you would like me to talk about next. I'd like to get some of the other crew members on as well whenever possible, so they may be popping up from time to time. And aside from that, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff, and we will see you all next time. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a share, and we will see you guys next time.